Let me ask you a question. How much rent have you paid over the last 10 years? And what do you have to show for it? The reality is most business owners default to renting without ever running the numbers on ownership. In this video, I want to talk about why it can be advantageous for you to invest in your own building for your business. Let me start by saying, I understand not every business can own their own property, the same way not every person out there can own a home. However, if your business has been doing well, you are financially in a position where you can own a property, it often makes sense to do so. A lot of business owners just default to being operators. Hey, I'm just going to find a space and lease it. However, you may find yourself being there for 5 years, 10 years, and like I said at the top, how much money have you paid to the person who does own that building? You are paying down that landlord's note if they have one. Meanwhile, their property is increasing in value, and you don't have anything to show for it. So for those business owners out there whose businesses are expanding, who are in a place where they can buy their own space, I recommend doing it. So let's talk about some of the advantages to owning your own building. In a lot of ways, owning a commercial building is similar to owning a house. Both can help you grow wealth. And as a business owner, you would want that advantage of not only having your business do well, but being able to also gain equity in the property that you're working out of. You need a space to work out of. It might as well be something that helps you grow your wealth. So the number one reason for owning your own property is the appreciation of value on that real estate. There is a reason home ownership has been considered the number one reason people have gained wealth over time in the United States, and that's because real estate increases. It is an appreciating asset. So there are assets out there. An asset would just be something that you own that's worth, has a value you could sell. And let's use an example of a car. We all need to have cars to get around, but they are not value increasing assets. As a matter of fact, they are depreciating assets. The minute you drive one off the lot, it depreciates, and the longer you own it and the more you drive it, the more it depreciates. The truth is not the same for real estate. Real estate, generally speaking, is always going up in value, and a building, whether that's an office building, a retail space, a warehouse that you bought 5 years ago, is probably worth a lot more now. So that brings huge advantages to you as a business owner. Number one, if you have to sell it, if you have to refinance your loan, maybe even borrow against it. So the appreciation of commercial real estate is the number one reason to own property. Number two, beyond the fact that the commercial real estate property is increasing in value, you are also paying down the note. So you are gaining equity in two ways: by good old-fashioned paying down the loan that you have on the property while the property is increasing in value. So the two of these things happening simultaneously is giving you a much bigger equity stake in the commercial property that you own. Another advantage to owning your own property are the tax deductions that you can get that you will not get if you are just renting. So the main one is depreciation. When you buy a property, over time, you are able to receive tax deductions related to the depreciation of the property. Now, this is kind of interesting because I was just saying that property increases in value over time, and it does, but that's market value. If you are in a super hot area of the country, kind of like we are here in Dallas-Fort Worth, that's growing so fast, then property is appreciating on the market relatively quickly. The government, though, is giving you a break for the fact that, much like when I was talking about a car a minute ago, the building itself does receive wear and tear over time, right? If you own a building for 20 years, it's going to have some level of wear on it. Maybe the windows need replaced at this point, things of that nature, the HVAC system. So you do receive some breaks on the depreciation value of the property, which is something you won't get if you are just leasing a property from a landlord. Now, when I'm talking about depreciation, The only downside of that tax break is it spans across a long period of time, 29 years to be exact. However, if you have a business that qualifies for a new program called the QPP, Qualified Production Program, you are able to write off 100% depreciation in the first year of the property. So your business has to qualify as a production-based business, and you can get on the IRS's website and read about QPP and what the qualifications are. But if you are a manufacturing type of business, you may be able to get a huge tax break in taking 100% depreciation in the first year you own the property. Now, you don't have to do it in 1 year. You could spread it across multiple years, but you can use that depreciation deduction in a much more significant way than the long-term method of depreciation that you were able to use for, the average business who is not in the production world. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is just the stability of payments. So one thing when you are leasing from a landlord that you will often see is payments are continually going up. Maybe you have locked in for a lease of 2 years and those payments are going to be fixed for that period of time. Although with most leases, you are also paying triple net, which really is the landlord's cost for things like utilities and taxes and whatnot. And so that number can change every year. It may increase and your payments may continually go up. Now, if you are a landlord, you want to get the most you can out of your property. We all understand lease payments going up over time as the cost of living goes up. But the bottom line is, if you are the business that's leasing this property, you may continually being hit with, lease increases. And again, you're not getting anything out of it. When you own a property, you have that stability of your payments, especially if you have used an SBA loan where you've got a long-term 25-year loan with a fixed rate, and you really know what you are paying on the principal and interest for that loan for the whole time that you're going to have that loan. Now, yes, your taxes and insurance may change year to year, and so your overall payment may move around, but it's a very stable payment when you are owning the property and you have a single bank loan that you're paying on. So to summarize, there are some huge advantages to owning commercial property. If you are officing out of that property, I said at the top, you have to work somewhere. And if you are a company that has gotten big enough and you are financially stable or have enough wherewithal to own your own property, I think it's an excellent investment to make because you are no longer throwing that money away and making a landlord wealthy. You are now still giving yourself a place to work out of that you are also gaining equity in and will have a huge asset when that commercial property is paid for. Appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.